Ow! Games have been random way before we added that whole video part. The first board game that we have any evidence of ever existing is Senate, which features reeds that, when thrown, were red, almost like a die had been rolled. This means that even in 2600 BC, we liked a little bit of chaos in the things we played. Moving forward a tad bit into the future, in 2023 AD, we still love quite a bit of mayhem, as 4 of the top 5 selling board games so far this year featured some element of random chance. As the games we played transitioned from cardboard boards to silicon chips, it's only natural that random chance would come with it. This randomness is found all over the place, with some of its forms being much more obvious than others. One of the most highly debated topics in gaming in the last good amount of years has been the idea of loot boxes. Or surprise mechanics, sorry. All you have to do is pay $2.49, and you can experience your own little slot machine. The only difference is that when you win big at slots, you get some cash in your pocket, and when you win big at the loot boxes, you get a 99 overall Lionel Messi that you can ruin some kid's day with. It's his fault, after all, for not using his parents' credit card. Or maybe you can just earn a new skin for your gun or knife, which might be a little bit better than hitting the jackpot at the slot machine, as some of these skins have been valued at over $2 million. These surprise mechanics are the quintessential random roll, and thanks to new policies from all 3 of the major console companies and a fair bit of government strong-arming, games now have to show the odds of their previously mysterious random boxes. And some of these numbers are crazy. One of the most egregious examples of this in recent years was Diablo Immortal, in which a person with average luck will have to spend around $500,000 in random packs if they wanted to max out their character. But hey, if you pack that $2 million CSGO knife, you can have a whole 4 characters maxed out, assuming you don't go on a run of bad luck. Not all randomness comes with such a high price tag though. A lot of turn-based strategy games use the ideas of percent chances to great effect. In recent years, the XCOM franchise has become a great example, as most major combat choices have some success percentage. This is where the strategy can get really fun. Do you want to play it safe and take the shot with a 99% chance of hitting, or take that risk with a 30% shot and hope Lady Luck's on your side? And notice I said 99%. Things are rarely 100%. There's always that slim chance of failure that you have to take into account when you're planning your strategy of attack. As you venture further back in time, these random dice rolls were much more common. The original 2 Fallout games were built on this gameplay mechanic, and it's brought to the modern day in the VAT system, where, again, you're greeted with a whole bunch of percentages. Even when these odds are not so explicitly spelled out, they're still there. Random critical hits and varying enemy spawns can break up the monotony and increase replayability of your favorite games. Even in incredibly competitive games like League of Legends, random critical hits can completely shift a fight, and even a match. This all does beg the question, however, how do games get random? The answer is far more complex than you may have originally thought. Those of us living in the real world are pretty naive on how hard it is for something unplanned to happen in the digital one. The very basic overview is that you get a random number, put it on a pay table, and boom, you're done. Now, I know like 2 sentences ago I said it was a lot more complex, but all the complexity is hiding under the hood of how we get that random number. For now, let's take that random number for granted and assume it just pops out of thin air. The pay table is a tool we can use to regulate what rewards are given out. Let's start by looking at a basic pay table to decide if a strike you land will be a critical hit. The first thing we want to do is take this possibly massive random number and make it a little bit more workable. A common way of doing this is dividing it by some number and just taking the remainder. For example, we'll do 10, as that allows us to easily grab the number that's in the ones place. We can set whatever number we're dividing by as our max bound, and now we have a finite number of possibilities. We can place all these possibilities on a table and assume that every number has an outcome. In this case, since we want to decide if you're going to have a critical hit or not, it's a binary yes or no choice. 0 through 4, no critical strike. 5 through 9, and you're getting a big damage boost. This is a great pay table if you want there to be a 50-50 chance of a crit, but that really wouldn't make it too much of a surprise. You can affect how common a random event occurs at this level. If you only want a critical hit to occur 20% of the time, then you just set 2 of the 10 numbers to be the winner. Then, if the player buys an item to boost their crit chance by 10%, then boom, they've unlocked the number 7. If the random rolls is not just a binary choice, you just give everything their own little section. If you need the odds to be specific, just increase the number of boxes. Hell, you can even have random rolls kick off other random rolls. I'm not 100% sure on how FIFA Ultimate Team handles their pack openings, but based on how they report said pack odds to the player, I assume they're using this random rolls kicking off random rolls technique. The odds they show are not shown by individual player, but besides rating. Gold packs from FIFA 2022 have an 8.3% chance of getting you an 84 or higher rated player. Now this is your first spin of the roulette wheel, and if you're lucky enough to hit it, then there's probably a second pay table of just good players. The odds of this second pay table are definitely not even across the board, and strangely enough, they're not shown anywhere. I bet if people could do the actual math and see the real odds of opening up the player of their dreams was in the hundredths of a percent, they might be a little bit more discouraged to open their wallets. Now, am I claiming this is an intentional choice by EA to extract every last dollar out of the teenager that hooked on gambling? Something else to note. Every time that some sort of animation is shown, like a wheel spinning or some reel turning, the graphic is absolutely meaningless. It doesn't matter that your bar was so close to that new knife. The computer knew what you're going to get from the start and just built a fun little display with lights and colors to get you there. Now that we know what we're going to do with this random number, how do we actually get it? The random generation of this number is done through a process known as RNG, or random number generation. The first thing you need is a seed, which you can then go do a bunch of fun math on. The problem is that this seed also kind of needs to be random, which proves to be really difficult for computers. One way around this, however, is by using the computer's clock. Now, it's not the numbers you see on the bottom right of your screen that says like 550. It's actually a piece of silicon in the computer known as an RTC, or real-time clock, that keeps track of passing time in nanosecond ticks. The computer is able to take this nanosecond number and treat that as a seed. It's not completely random, but for most things it's good enough. For example, let's assume that the current clock time is this large number of nanoseconds. Now you got a seed. We'll then add 5, multiply by 3, divide by 4, add 4 more, divide by 2, and on and on and on again, until we get some new random number that we can feed into that fun pay table we were looking at before. The thing about this method is that if you give the algorithm the same seed, it will always spit out the same random number. Some older games set one seed at the start and then base all their random events on different formulas, including this number. This means that things are ripe for exploitation. You see, if you can influence the seed, now you have complete control over the RNG of the game, and you can strip all the randomness away. This is relatively common in the speedrunning of games, as randomness can be pretty slow. One of the most famous examples of this is in the speedrunning of the older Pokemon games, in which certain procedures are performed to ensure that the fastest seed possible is generated. This sometimes involves completely shutting down the system, then performing an incredibly precise set of options on startup. Some of these actions can actually require hijacking that clock we were talking about before, and have to be done with the precision and accuracy that only another computer can provide. Now let's do a full run of a random event from start to finish to just see how the whole process occurs. First thing you want to do, open your wallet, provide Steam with the fun 16 numbers on the front, and the silly 3 on the back, then you press buy and open up your desired surprise mechanic. The algorithm grabs a seed from somewhere. For this example, we'll just use the current clock cycle. Then it performs a bunch of complex math to form your random number. We'll then shorten this random number down to fit on our scientifically engineered pay table, specifically designed to build the perfect amount of hype whilst delivering the lowest possible reward. Then we take that new number and decide what you just won. Then we go build some fun animation to pretend that you were so close to that payday you've been dreaming about. And boom, you're now the proud owner of a gun skin that you can sell for like a whole 8 cents. Thank you to everyone who's still around. I know that this video is a little different in that it's not really fall related, but it's been on my back of my mind since the luck and gambling series wrapped up. That being said, I hope you enjoyed it, and you all have a great rest of your day.